Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CLAT Possible webinar on why start early. I hope all of you can hear me. I hope all of you can hear me. All right. So, is my screen visible to everyone? Mostly for the webinar today, as you can see, we are going to talk about starting early for your CLAT preparation. And when we say start early, we mean start as soon as you decide that you have to prepare. I mean, you should not wait for the crash course. There are many students who have a tendency to wait for the crash course, or they feel that they should finish their class 12 boards and then start. So we are going to focus on those aspects of your preparation with respect to the new CLAT pattern and why starting early or starting as soon as you decide to study for CLAT is a very good option considering the new CLAT pattern that has emerged. Now, the CLAT for this year is yet to take place. And for next year, any announcement by the CLAT committee will not happen before November or December. So all that means that you need a lot of guidance for your CLAT paper. You need to be proactive. So starting early also helps you to adjust to sudden changes in the paper that seem to happen every year with CLAT. So there are all these benefits and more, and we are going to focus on all of those today. And our workshop will be taken by me. My name is Dr. Surabhi Modi Sahai. I am the CEO of CLAT Possible. I teach English and logic here along with managing the academics at CLAT Possible. I am also, I spend a lot of time in counseling, score counseling for students, in helping them decide their stream. So you can catch all my webinars that I have taken in the past 2 months on our YouTube channel on CLAT Possible. There I've tried to answer lots of questions with preparation. I've tried to answer questions with how to manage or balance school with CLAT preparation. So a host of my webinars are on our YouTube channel at CLAT Possible on YouTube. So do check them out and hopefully they will answer all your queries, right? Also joining me today are some of my great mentors at CLAT Possible. Abhishek Thakur is there. He's also our outreach person. You can see him on the screen. He will be talking to you about law as a career option. Akash Joshi is there. As you can see, he's looking after our legal R&D part. So all the mocks, all the materials that you take up at CLAT Possible, he will be the one responsible for it. So all the training team is here. And our student speak today is done by Ayushi Roy. Ayushi's YouTube video you just saw, she cracked CLAT and AILET both in the year 2019, and she is currently a student at NLU Delhi. Ayushi was a student of Cambridge School in Indrapuram in New Delhi. So all the Delhiites on our webinar today, you can quickly say a hi on your chat box. And of course, Ayushi is there to address all your concerns with school and CLAT and etc. So I can see lots and lots of Delhi students are getting very, very excited with one of their own, as we can see. So we are here to answer all these questions that are sort of, coming up on my chat screen, and I'm going to address them during the course of this webinar. So let me start with some basic know-how. Are you all in class 11th? Are you in 10th? Are you in 12th? Where are you? As in, so all the class 10 students, are there any class 10 students? Okay. Class 11 students. So there, I quickly snuck, I sort of saw a very quick question on someone who has humanities, and they're asking about is CLAT possible if we have humanities? So you are in luck today because Ayushi will be probably addressing that. She took humanities in class 11th and 12th. And there are commerce students also, some very early starters. I can see class 9 students. I see a lot of parents. Okay, all the parents listening in to us today, please type X on the chat box so we know we are addressing parents as well. All the parents, please type X, and only students type Y. Great. So naturally, I know since this undergraduation programs, involve a lot of parental intervention, which is a very good thing. It helps the students or gives them strength to take or make such big decisions in their life. All those who are very, very sure of the fact that they have to write the CLAT exam, please type A. So all those who are very sure you have to write the CLAT exam, please type A. And if you want us to call you back, if you want us to call you up and counsel you, please leave your number or email ID so that we can connect with you as soon as the webinar is over. So all those who would want a call back from us, because I see a lot of questions emerging with respect to what subject to take. Please do leave your email IDs and phone numbers so that we can connect with you on Monday and discuss this sort of plan with you that you would want us to help with. So we have a personalized counseling session available. So once you leave your numbers, we will be connecting with you first come, first serve basis, and of course, helping you out making this decision. That's great, everyone. Thank you so much. So I'm going to come quickly to the part of CLAT preparation today, because this is where we would like to start off with. I hope all of you know that once you take the CLAT or any 5-year law program paper, what you are actually signing up for is a 5-year integrated law program. An integrated word means that instead of doing 2 separate degrees of a graduation and LLB, these programs offer you 5 years. The 6 years get reduced to 5 years, and you get a double degree or a dual degree at the end of 5 years. So this dual degree at the end of 5 years cannot be really distinguished into first 2 years BA or first 2 years LLB like that. Everything is interwoven together, and your BA studies as well as your LLB studies go hand in hand. This process or pedagogical pattern is so important because law is integrated with the humanities, economics, its subjects, because law alone is not going to make any sense. It has to be taught within society and all the subjects that you need to know, including history, politics. So it is an interwoven degree. So you get a mixture of courses every year which differ from law school to law school. So today you are going to talk to Ayushi, who is studying in NLU Delhi. The NLU Delhi pattern of the 5 year, the pedagogy in NLU Delhi for 5 years is very different from NLSIU that follows a trimester program, which is very different from NALSA. So you study pretty much the same things, but what and when they teach is very different from law school to law school, because each law school is an autonomous body. So you must understand what you are going to study when you go to NLUs. So these are autonomous bodies. They make their own curriculum. They hire their own set of teachers. Of course, they operate within the laws of the country, but they have a great infrastructure. They have great libraries. They have their own intake in terms of numbers ranging from 75 to 130. Most law schools are now looking at state reservation. Right? Delhi also was planning state reservation this year, but it was put on hold by the courts as students protested, since NLUs are national law universities. So as law schools plan state reservations, their intake also increases so that they give more opportunity to general candidate students to apply. So if you go to the website clat.ac.in, you can read up about individual law schools, the reservation patterns. Each law school has separate reservations. The the number of people who are going to, who they take in every year, the fee, etc. Now, other than the national law universities, if you can see the screen, everyone, can you all see the screen? So on the screen, you see the law school Symbiosis. Can you see Symbiosis on the screen? Right. So Symbiosis also is a 5-year program. It offers a 5-year dual degree program. Right. ILS is there in Pune. GLC is there in Pune. These are under one exam called MHCET, Maharashtra. Right. So these are some of the popular exams that students like to take up other than the CLAT and NLU Delhi exam. So these are all the exams that are available. Other than this, UP has BHU, Banaras Hindu University, which has a 5-year integrated program. IP is also there in Delhi, which offers a 5-year integrated program. And there is Jindal Law School. Again, it offers a 5-year program and is held by the LSAT. So these are some of the popular exams that students like to take and what we prepare them for. So under LSAT, there are lots and lots of private law schools, right? So intake means how many students are admitted based on the exam. So this is the current admission based on 2019-2020. So you can see that after the preparation and in the selection process, these are mostly these are the number of seats that are there. So intake basically means seats, right? Other than that, these are of course the tentative dates that you can see. This year, all these dates were disturbed because of the ongoing pandemic. But from next year, we are 100% hopeful that your exams will be held on these dates. Right? So if there are any questions with respect to the exam and intake, etc., we can address them at the end of my lecture. Right. So what we are going to discuss basically in detail would be the CLAT pattern today along with NLU Delhi pattern. There is very slight difference in the exam pattern of all these colleges and exams that I have just spoken to you about, right? But today our focus will be on the CLAT pattern. Our preparation for the CLAT exam is basically also a preparation for all these other exams that we have informed you about. The course is the same in all these exams. There are slight changes in the exam pattern. These changes in the exam pattern are incorporated by us in our mocks. So once the candidate prepares with us, we give you mocks for all these papers. And with the help of the mock series, they are able to sort of get an idea about what the paper is like. So in short, all law entrance exams are going to test you in these 5 areas. One is legal reasoning. This year, the CLAT paper is 150 marks. And this is the rough breakup of the 150 marks. So it can range from anywhere between 35 to 38. Logical reasoning can be anywhere between 30 to 32 marks. Maths can be anywhere between 12 to 15 marks. English can be anywhere between, again, 30 to 32 marks, whereas GK again can be anywhere between 35 to 38 marks. When I say GK, GK basically is going to cover current events. When I say legal reasoning, it is going to be a test of logical reasoning based on laws. When I say logical reasoning, it will be a combination of mathematical and verbal reasoning. Maths, of course, is class 7th, 8th, 9th maths. And this pattern of CLAT is going to ask you maths based not on permutation or combination or vague subjects. It is going to be basically commercial maths or data interpretation. And English will be passage-based questions. That means there will be a paragraph that you will have to read. Based on that, questions will be asked. Answers are given in the paragraph. You have to read and answer the questions. So this entire paper is going to be reading and interpretation based. So when I say reading and interpretation based, legal reasoning, you will have to read and answer questions based on laws that will be given to you. No prior knowledge of laws is required. Reasoning again will be critical reasoning. That is again reading and critically analyzing. So what individually these sections are going to ask you, we will be informing you in detail in our diagnostic classes. Our diagnostic classes will break up all the sections for you. So in the English class, we will tell you what type of questions will come in the diagnostic class. In the reasoning class, we are going to tell you what type of questions will come in the reasoning section. Legal class will tell you what kind of questions will come in the legal section. So a diagnostic class after this webinar is a very important step for you to undertake before you decide on your preparation. In the diagnostic class, you understand what each section wants you to do and how, and you have to plan your study in the next 1 year or 2 years. Right? So when these paper patterns are given, even if the paper pattern changes, let's assume there is a change in the paper pattern for 2021, but the basics will not change. What they will just try to do is make small changes in different sections. But the basics of your study, of knowing English, of reading, of doing current affairs, of reasoning, these never change in aptitude tests. All aptitude tests test you in verbal ability, which is English, in maths, and in reasoning. So that means you have to prepare for an aptitude test if you want to go to any good college after your class 12. So CLAT is one such preparation. The ALET exam is not very different from the CLAT exam. There is only a slight change in the number of questions that are asked. There is only a change in the number of questions that are asked. The CLAT paper this year will be 150 marks, which you have to solve in 2 hours. Each question will be 1 mark and there will be 1/4 negative. Whereas ALET exam will be 150 marks, which you have to answer in 1.5 hours. Again, each question is 1 mark and 1/4 negative will be removed for any incorrect answer. Right? So this is how the paper patterns continue as far as your law school preparation is concerned. Symbiosis also changes its question pattern sometimes, but it never asks you maths. So in Symbiosis, your sections are divided into English, reading comprehension. In English, they ask you grammar and vocabulary, reading comprehension, reasoning, legal, and GK. So in Symbiosis, the English section is divided into 2 parts. Maths is not asked in the Symbiosis paper. Usually the Symbiosis paper is 150 marks, but this year they have reduced the number of questions to 90 marks since it is going to be a home exam. As you all know that there is an ongoing pandemic. All the colleges are grappling with the problem of how to conduct their papers. So many exams, including Symbiosis and LSAT and even the ALET exam, will be a home exam under the webcam. Right? So small changes that they have done this year will not happen next year when exams happen in a normal manner. So the rough breakup of section cutoff breakup that you can see, legal aptitude makes for about 25% of your marks, right? And total marks is given as 150 for everyone. As I said, this year Symbiosis is conducting a 90-mark test, but next year it will again conduct a 150-mark test once the situation normalizes. Maths is not asked in the Symbiosis exam. Only 10% of the maths weightage is there in CLAT. So this is again a breakup of the topics that you will be given in the paper. I've already told you +1 and -1/4 in both CLAT and ALET is happening. Symbiosis till last year had only a +1 mark. No negative marking was there in SET and MHCET, but they will be including it this year. So let's see how the exam changes since none of these exams have happened so far. Right? Now, how are we going to basically prepare you for these exams? Right now, while the problem of the pandemic is persisting, your preparation with us will happen through this mode. The online lecture mode that you can see. All our classes will be conducted through PPTs. As you can see a PPT over here. Whatever the faculty is talking is also given on the PPT. All our discussions, class sheets, everything will be done through this mode. When we teach you a topic, we will be giving you a class sheet, which is a class handout which you have to solve during the time of the class, and the sheet will be discussed again in this mode. So the classes, once the situation normalizes, once we are allowed to conduct classes in our centers, then of course you can join the nearest CLAT possible center for physical classes as well, right? So this is basically our course detail with material, test series, everything as a part of the course detail. An elaborate discussion on this will be done by our admissions team at the end of our talk. Now, all those of you who are looking at, sorry, 1 minute. So this is basically our weekend program for class 12 students. Many class 12 students put up their hand. So this is your page. You can take a picture of it or note it. So you are going to join us for a 6-hour week program. These 6 hours can be done on the weekend, or these 6 hours can be done 3 days a week in the evenings after your school is over. I know many of you are joining school through the, again, a webinar online platform, right? So most of our teaching will also be done the way probably your school is conducted, but in a more interactive manner. And all your classes, class sheets, everything will be made available to you on the website. Those who have done their class 12th and are looking at a 1-year regular program, can you put up your hand or type something in the chat box? Those who have done their class 12th and are looking at a full 1-year program, so you will have classes 5 days a week. You will be having classes all 5 days a week, right? And again, all your material class sheets will be given to you online. You will have access to everything, and your physical books will also be dispatched to you through courier services. So that is true for all our students now. Class 11 students also had put up their hands earlier. So class 11 students will be doing 6 hours a week again with us. So they will be engaging with us for more than 300 hours during their preparation with us. You will be starting with the foundation program to begin with, and then you will be doing fundamentals and practice and test series with us later. So all the 3 programs have a separate session plan. The 5-day week program for dropouts for class 12 students and for class 11 students. We have separate session plans for you, and your classes will run according to the number of hours that are dedicated to you. All of you will have your course completed at after a certain duration of the classes. For example, for the class 12 students, we will take about 60 to 65 hours for course completion, and then you will be practicing. For the class 11 students, course completion will take about 120 to 130 hours because they will have an added foundation course attached to their program, right? And for the weekday program children, it will be around 100 hours for course completion at least, right? All of you will get hard copy material. Once you enroll with us, the material will be dispatched to you, or you have the option of collecting the material from your nearest center. Our centers with their counselors are open. You can fix up an appointment and go and collect your material, or talk to our center heads. I will be sharing details of all the physical centers that we have. Okay. So this is what I was telling you about. Now, a detailed analysis of each section will be done on our diagnostic class dates. Please note down the dates for diagnostic classes are 27, 28, 29. Can you take a picture of this? And you can contact us if you want to join the diagnostic CLAT classes with us. The weekend programs for class 11s and 12s, we are starting on the 2nd of August now. Whereas all those who have done class 12 and are looking at a weekday regular program, that is the dropouts, for you the batch start date is 27th July. And you have classes 5 days a week from Monday to Friday. If this is clear to everyone, can you please put up your hands? So please, all those who are looking at joining the diagnostic class dates, please join on 27, 28 and 29. All right. If you want, Aryan, you can contact these numbers and talk to us regarding your query. Lovely. So we are currently operating out of all these centers. You can note the numbers of these centers. Once you enroll with us, you can call them up and collect your material from the centers. Right? If you are interested in joining our diagnostic class, etc., please leave your details here. Some of you have already left your details. We will anyway be calling you. Please leave your phone number and email ID, and we will be registering you for the class link. So please leave your details in the chat box. That helps us call you first and register you first. So this year we started Dehradun and Jaipur. We are yet to start classes here. Naturally, because of the pandemic, we could only start our centers. So we are happy to be serving you in physical capacity mode in all these cities. And students from all these cities every year have been getting a great CLAT rank. And we have representative results from every city. So we want to train all of you students who are listening to me and parents whose children are interested in joining. And we want you to attach yourself to one of these cities. Give us the city topper. CLAT Possible prides itself in getting city toppers in all the cities that we are present in. We strive very hard to work and get all or as many students into their dream law schools. But for that, we need the students to be proactive. You have to do classes regularly. You have to finish your modules, and you have to seriously take up the mock test series. For this, you have to have this huge dream of getting into a great law school. With class 11 and with class 12, your stress levels increase, I understand. You are unable to do justice sometimes. You are completely baffled. I mean, you are scared for your boards. I understand all those feelings because I am closely associated with every student with training part. So that is why we always try to get a student to talk to you so that you can sort of, you relate with what he or she is saying. And today we have Ayushi. I'd like to actually bring her in and she can tell you about her journey. Please understand these success stories are very important because they keep you motivated. So Ayushi's video, many of you saw, she did speak about how she was, fidgeting with maths, how she tried to do her static GK in 1 year, and how she planned her 2 years with us. Right? Ayushi, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, good evening, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
So Ayushi is here. Please listen to her. Her exams are going on in NLU Delhi, but she really is so nice. She took out time for us and she is waiting patiently for, to talk to all of you. So, I hope she will be able to help you out a lot. I mean, considering that her exams are going on and yet she decided to give us time. She's giving online exams at NLU Delhi. She's a student there. So Ayushi, can you briefly take us through your journey in class 11th with us and a quick overview of how you handled each subject and how I know you were so regular with class. Every time I took class, you were always there, and we had never any problem of absenteeism from you. So how you managed it with your school?
Yeah, so I gave my CLAT in 2019, and I started my preparation when I was in class 11. So I decided early on that I wanted to get into an NLU, especially one of the top NLUs, because law was something that interested me, and especially like I said in the video, the public international law was really interesting to me. So I joined CP after like a Google search that which coaching institutions are best for preparing for CLAT and everything. So I really like the concepts that and the values that CP has about mentorship and mocks and like this continuous effort to sort of put in consistent effort and do well. And the results were actually very amazing, and even now they are, including in my batch at NLU Delhi, we have around 15 students who some of whom I already knew because I had gone to CP, and most of them attended regular classroom programs. Why regular classroom programs are helpful, either they're in the conventional sense or sort of online. So what happens in regular classes is that it helps you in three ways. First is that there is a sort of reinforcement that happens. Why you are doing this, being constantly motivated. Because I remember we used to have students from NLUs, graduates from NLS and NLU Delhi coming there and talking to us about their life in law school and how they prepared and how that has helped them evolve as uh, not just as like into lawyers, but also like as great people. We met some amazing people there, and that sort of attending the classes helps you reinforce that motivation that this is something I want to do, and that's why I'll work harder for it. So that's one thing that happens. And another thing is that there's constant exposure to the sort of concepts that will be asked in CLAT, and like including GK or legal reasoning or uh, current affairs, all these things which come into your conversation, which will not happen if you are not attending classes regularly, or you're sort of not exposing yourself to that kind of a conversation. And this conversation helps you in some way or other, because it helps in retention, it helps in motivation, and you can always depend on the mentors or even your classmates to sort of, or the people you work with, to sort of inculcate these things into your conversation. You start thinking like someone who's a law student and who wants to be a law student, and that therefore helps in your CLAT preparation and ALE preparation. And for regular classes, another thing that I personally noticed was great after coming to an LU was that a lot of my friends from CLAT Possible and the preparation days are at different NLUs all over India and other law schools as well. And keeping in touch with them, knowing what's going on in their college and how they're dealing with any sort of issues, it's really helpful, because you sort of have a network that you can rely on during your college days and even afterwards. So this is something where regular classes or coaching really sets you apart from preparing at home or without a coaching institution. So as far as balancing with school is concerned, I see a lot of questions about the stream that we choose. So I was from humanities stream, and I think it helped, especially because I had pol science and sociology and history and subjects like these, which sort of get questions from GK. You get questions from GK, which may or may not be relevant to these, but at least they help you sort of gain a background knowledge on uh, the GK that you would be studying for CLAT. But it does not ensure that it's not GK, it's not a substitute for GK. Humanities is not. It is a subject in itself. And I was in the CBSE board, or whichever school board you are in. The kind of studying that you do for board exams is very different from what you do for an aptitude exam like CLAT or ALET or any other law exam. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that you have to always approach it as different from school, even if you think that maybe this is something that we'll cover. Like if you have maths, if you have maths because of PCM or commerce with maths, it does not mean that you will do well. It does not mean that you do not have to prepare for maths for CLAT specifically. So a lot of people from the science stream, I mean, I cannot vouch for how difficult it is to balance the two, CLAT and science. One thing I can say is that if you're committed to CLAT, if you've decided that you want to go to an NLU or a proper law school and do law in your life, then you should always make sure that you do not deviate, because what happens is all the other people in your class would be doing something else. For example, most of my classmates, hardly anyone was preparing for law. Most of them wanted to go to DU and do humanities courses. So their approach to 11th and 12th was a lot different from mine. And science students, a lot of them, whether they initially wanted to or not, it is a very confusing time. 11th and 12th, you do not know what to do with your life later. But if you chose CLAT, if you chose to do law, then you should stay fully committed to it and see it through. So do not get distracted or do not deviate from the path, sort of. If you've decided that you want to do this, give it a full go. So
So,
that's what I like to.
Ayushi, what would you say how you divided the time? Like,
Uh,
but did you divide your time?
yeah, so I, it was
You said
a
weekends
kind.
you did CLAT. In the video you said weekends. So was it like that? You spend weekends with CLAT and then otherwise school?
Yeah, so I was in the Zephyr course, which was a weekend batch for 2 years. So it was like that only, because for the 5 days I went to school, I did my schoolwork in school after school, and then on the weekends it was easier to do CLAT, because first thing that happens is every week you're sort of recapitulating whatever you did the past week, and there's not a lot to study per se, because it's more aptitude based. You need to develop a skill, so the regularity helps, and even if it's at longer intervals, say only weekends, then it helps in building these basic concepts. However, after my boards were done, or towards the end of my 12th, I started pushing more towards CLAT, because that's something that was more important to me. So that's why more effort went in towards the end months of my CLAT preparation. So I
And
think,
one last word from you. Did starting early help, you think? Did it help
yes,
you?
yeah, certainly. Like I said, for because regular classes were there, you sort of get reinforced motivation. You always have a constant exposure to these concepts, and because it's an aptitude based exam, reasoning and comprehension or vocabulary and things like these, including legal reasoning, critical reasoning, all these things are built over time. So the longer you spend with, like, just spend time with these concepts, the better you get at them. So I think it's it's a lot more helpful if you start early, and it doesn't have to be that you just from the get-go you're completely involved in only CLAT, but you should always stay connected to it. That's why starting early sort of helps.
Thank you so much, Ayushi. Ayushi
Thank
will
you,
be
Anand.
around to answer queries in the end. I'll very quickly move on to Abhishek now. He will take you to the part where, CLAT, preparing for CLAT becomes important, and how it is that CLAT will help you realize your dream careers. So mostly around careers after the NLUs, careers after law school. And the last segment will be Akash, who will talk about the law school life. And then we will be happy to answer queries for all of you. So Abhishek, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Am I audible? Everybody, please type a yes in the chat box if you can hear me. Guys, please write a yes in the chat box if I'm audible to all of you. All right, great. So I'm Abhishek Singh. I work at CLAT Possible. I teach legal aptitude at CLAT Possible. And I'm just going to take 25-30 minutes of your time, and I will be talking about career options after law. So we've already discussed the CLAT paper part, what exactly comes in the paper, how you need to prepare, and most essentially, why it is imperative and important for you to start your preparation early. Now, coming to the next part, what are the career options available after pursuing law from one of these national law universities? Now, before this, I'd just like to share a small story with you guys. So, you know, we've been doing this job for almost the past 10-15 years. I mean, we've been to more than 1,000 schools across 15 cities in the country, and we've conducted these career counseling workshops. Of course, this year we're doing it online, but before that we used to be physically present in all these top schools in the country. And after these career counseling sessions used to be over, a lot of time, a lot of students would come to me and tell me that, sir, you know what? Every other day, somebody comes to a school and takes a session on career counseling, and everybody tells us to pursue our passion, to do what we are passionate about. And I have a confession to make, sir, and I'm a bit embarrassed to make this confession. I really don't have any passion. I mean, if you ask me, do I really hate maths? Well, not really, not entirely. Well, do I just give me a second, guys? I'll just open my presentation for a moment. Right. So a lot of time these people will ask me that, sir, I don't really have a passion. If you ask me, do I really maths? Do I really hate maths? Well, not really. Am I in love with maths? Not really. Do I hate biology? Not a lot. Do I love economics and accounts? Not really. I mean, do I have a problem in becoming a doctor? Never really thought about it. Engineer? No. I mean, back when I was a child, perhaps I wanted to become a pilot, but that's definitely not my dream anymore. So this is something which is very common. People coming and telling me that we are pushed and we are told to pursue our passion, but we haven't really thought about anything. We are absolutely undecided as to what exactly should we do after class 12. So how many of you belong to that lot, guys? How many of you are undecided as to what you really want to pursue? You're not really passionate about a particular career option. So I can see a lot of participants raising their hand, and I definitely understand. Okay, I definitely understand. So I see, oh, all right, okay, that's almost half the class here. Okay, so a lot of us are undecided. So whenever I go to these career counseling sessions, I can divide the audience into two. One is the set which is already decided, okay, that I'm going to pursue law, or it's medicine or engineering and so on and so forth. And the other is the lot which is undecided. So this session that we're conducting today is important and integral to both these lots. People who've decided they want to pursue law, well, obviously you should attend this session. And then you will ask me, sir, people who are undecided, why is it important for them? Because listen to me now. For all these people who are undecided, I just have one very simple question. I ask them that, okay, maybe you're not passionate towards maths or science or economics, and you're not passionate towards engineering or medicine or a particular career option. But one thing we all can agree, we're all passionate towards is having a decent job and making decent money in life. Like, frankly speaking, I haven't come across anybody in my life who's come and told me that, sir, I want to be poor for the rest of my life. Okay. So if that's the only thing that you're thinking about right now, that irrespective of what career it is, I just need two things. Number one, it's a respectable, decent college, and it's easier to get inside. That's very important because there are a lot of good colleges, but not everywhere it's easy to get in. And two, I should get a decent job with a decent salary. And if that is all you're thinking about right now, then again, like I said, guys, this is going to be a very informative and important session for you, because law is what you're looking for. Okay. Now, this option of law, guys, has seriously become a rage over the past 10, 11 years. I mean, when I started these workshops way back in 2012 and 13, in a crowd of 400, 500 people, I'd ask them, okay, so how many of you know about law? How many of you know about CLAT? And not more than 15, 20 people would raise their hand. From that point till today, when I go to schools and I ask the same question, how many of you have heard about CLAT? How many of you know about national universities? Almost everybody will end up raising their hand. And I'm not saying that these people wish to pursue law. I'm not saying that all of them are going to pursue law, but at least they know about this option. People have awareness about all these new age career options beyond the conventional and orthodox options of engineering and medicine. So the question is why? Why has law become such a popular and sought after option amongst class 11th and 12th kids in the past 10 years? And the reason behind that, guys, is the fantastic absolutely fantastic performances of these national universities in the different areas. Like, name the parameter and national universities have performed so well, be it placements, be it average salaries, be it infrastructure, be it exposure, be it your extracurricular activities. You name the parameter and national universities have performed so well that this is one reason why they have become so popular amongst class 11th and 12th kids. Okay, so let me now get to the point of what are the different career options from a national university. Okay, what are the different career options after you pursue this 5 years integrated course from one of these top national law universities. Now, firstly, I'll come to something that fascinates class 11th and 12th students a lot. Like, after a lot of these career counseling sessions, boys and girls will come to me and they'll be like, sir, what is the average salary from NLS Bangalore? Sir, what is the average salary from Nalsa? So this average salary concept is something that I personally feel fascinates class 11th and 12th students a lot. So let me first address that. Okay. Now, if I come to the average salary part from the top national universities, guys, I'm going to cite the most authentic sources here. So have you heard about the NIRF rankings, the National Institutional Ranking Framework released by the Ministry of Human Resources, Government of India, guys? Have you ever heard about it? The official rankings which are released by the Government of India, Human Resource Development Ministry. Well, this is the most authentic source, guys. It is released by the Government of India, by the Ministry of HRD. If you go through these rankings, guys, you will also see a tab which tells you about the median salaries of these top NLUs. Okay. Now I'll make you understand what is the concept of median salaries, guys. So you must have heard about average salaries, and then there is the concept of median salaries. So median salary is a better yardstick to determine what is the kind of placements in a given college, because average salaries can be a bit fussy, can be a bit confusing. How, guys? How is average salary calculated? How do you calculate averages in maths? You will take all the numbers and then divide it by the number of terms. Yes or no? You take all the numbers, you add them up and then divide it by the number of terms. So like, for example, if you have to give the average salary figure for a college, what will you do? You will calculate all the salaries that different people have gotten. Okay. And then you will divide it by the total number of students, who got these salaries. So the problem here is that at times, guys, and I'm sure you must have heard about news articles where it says somebody from IIT got a 1 crore package, somebody from Microsoft picked somebody at a 1.5 crore package. Don't you keep hearing about news like this? Yes or no? Somebody got 80 lakhs and somebody got 90 lakhs and somebody got 1 crore. While at the same time, guys, there are people who get 6-7 lakhs as well. So when you calculate the average, you take the 1 crore that somebody has gotten, and then you take the 6 lakh that somebody else has gotten, and you add them up and you divide it by the total number of students appearing for the placements, and you get a very good looking figure for almost everybody. So it can be a bit confusing, which is why median salary figure gives you a relatively better yardstick, becomes a relatively better yardstick, guys, because the median salary figure tells you what did more than 50% of the batch get from a given college. Okay. Median salary tells you what did more than 50% of the batch get from a given college. And now coming to the median salary figures, guys, and I'm quoting the NIRF Government of India rankings here. The median salary from Nalsar, Hyderabad, which is along with NLS Bangalore, the best law school in the country, stood at a whopping 18 lakh rupees per annum, guys. Okay. So this is what more than 50% of the batch at Nalsar, Hyderabad got. And it will almost be 80 to 90%. But since median tells us what did more than 50% get, it was 18 lakh rupees per annum. Again, for NLS Bangalore, guys, another very good law school in the country. In fact, at par with Nalsar, Hyderabad, it's the best law school in the country. The median salary stood at 15 lakh rupees per annum. Again, from NLU Delhi, guys, which is the third best. I mean, along with NUJS Calcutta, it's touted to be the third best law school in the country. The average salary stood at 15 lakh rupees per annum. Okay, so these are the kind of median salaries that you can expect from the top NLUs. And let me also tell you something, guys. These undergraduate salaries are one of the best. You know, they're literally one of the best. You can compare them to IITs, you can compare them to Chartered Accountancy, you can compare them to Stephens, and you can compare it to Hindu and SRCC, all the top courses in the country. You will find that the median salaries at these top NLUs is one of the best when it comes to undergraduate UG courses. Okay. Also, the best part here, guys, is that it's easier to get inside NLUs as compared to these other popular options. Okay, so I'm not saying that Stephens is not good, or for that matter, Hindu is not good, or the course of Chartered Accountancy is bad, or IIT is bad. I mean, I'm nobody to tell you that IITs are bad. I mean, in my 7 lives, probably I can't crack the IIT, but that's the thing here. Okay, in my 7 lives, somebody like me, will not be able to crack the IIT, but in all my 7 lives, I can perhaps crack the CLAT paper. That's the big difference between making it to an IIT and cracking the CLAT. And here again, guys, not to say that cracking the CLAT is easy, but yes, it is relatively easier. Okay, it is definitely relatively easier. Like if I talk about the IITs, only last year some 16-17 lakh people appeared for the entrances. Okay, out of which, if I talk about the best IIT, it's IIT Bombay. 0.00, I don't know how many places of the decimal will finally make it to IIT Bombay. Then again, you have popular options like Stephens and all, where every year there is the Delhi University cutoff list, which is pretty much crazy in my opinion. I mean, 98 and 99%, whatnot you need to score in your class 11th and 12th. So it's quite difficult. As compared, CLAT is relatively easier. Not to say it's easy, but relatively easier. And it's just basic maths. Like for instance, the CLAT will have, you will be competing with close to 1 lakh aspirants in the CLAT exam. In the IITs, it will be 17 to 18 lakh. I mean, apply common sense, apply basic maths. Which college will be easier to get inside? Of course, the CLAT colleges, okay? So for the same salaries, or in fact, even better, the CLAT is definitely an easier exam to crack. It's definitely easier to get inside these top NLUs as compared to the other popular options, okay? So if you're looking, the only agenda in your mind right now is good salary, a decent average package, a good job, then like I said, law and corporate law specifically can be a great option for you, okay? So these salaries that I'm talking about, guys, they are mostly in the field of corporate law, okay? And pretty much this is one reason why law schools have become so popular, guys, okay? So in your 5th year, once you're done with your course, major multinational companies and law firms will come and recruit you, and you will work in the field of corporate law. Now, corporate law is like a mammoth, it's an ocean, but in a nutshell, in brief, I'll try to explain you what kind of job, you know, you'd be having if you plunge in the world of corporate law. So guys, do you keep hearing about these deals that happen all the time? Like for example, recently you must have read in the newspaper that Facebook bought 10% shares of Reliance Jio. Did you come across this news article, guys? Yes or no? Facebook buying 10% shares of Reliance Jio. You can also type it in the chat box, guys. Either you can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat box, either way. In fact, a series of investments made by Google and Intel and so on and so forth. So when all these big mega deals happen, guys, okay, when all these big mega deals happen, what you need to realize is that there are billions and zillions of legal compliances that need to be adhered, that need to be followed. And who are the people who make sure that these legal compliances are followed? Well, this will primarily be the job of a corporate lawyer. Okay, so a corporate lawyer will do the paperwork. He will make sure that all the legal compliances are met. He will make sure that the deal goes through and it is legally watertight, so on and so forth. Then again, for example, the Tata Group, a few years ago, I'm sure that you heard that the Tata Group bought the Jaguar Land Rover Group. So right now, all the Jaguar and Land Rover cars that you see in the world, in fact, are owned by the Tata Group. Yes or no? They're owned by the Tata Group. Yes or no, guys? I'm sure you know about it. So then again, who will be the people who will be making, who will be doing the paperwork behind all these deals? It'll be corporate lawyers. So that is one area. Then there are other areas as well, like for example, taxation. So in the Supreme Court right now, guys, have you heard about this telecom case? The telecom companies fighting the case in the Supreme Court, where the government says that these telecom companies have not paid their taxes and the government wants the money, but the telecom companies are saying that no, we are not supposed to pay the money. Have you heard about this AGR case that's going on in the Supreme Court, guys? It's almost in the news almost every other day. Yes or no? The AGR, so a lot of people raise your hand. Again, who will be who all will be advising these telecom companies on taxation matters? Again, it's going to be corporate law. Okay, corporate lawyers will be the one doing this job. So it's a wide ocean. In a nutshell, I'm trying to tell you what kind of work will you do. And then there are two kinds of recruiters that you will have in the field of corporate law. Okay, one will be your multinational companies. So you can work as a legal advisor for Axis Bank, for ICICI Bank, for Procter and Gamble, for Coca-Cola, for Reliance, for some PSUs like ONGC, so on and so forth. Or the biggest recruiter in the field of corporate law, guys, are law firms. Okay. Now, what are law firms? These are boutique places which do specialized corporate law work. Okay, like for instance, I'll tell you, if you suffer from common cold and cough, or for that matter, any physical problem, then the first kind of doctor that you go to is a general physician. Yes or no? Somebody who has an MD. Wouldn't you go to a general physician? That is what most of the people do. They will go to a general physician. Yes. But if the general physician diagnoses that your problem is something serious, that it's a heart problem which is a bit serious, or if it's a kidney problem which is a bit serious, then you go to a specialist. Okay. Then if it's a heart problem, you go to a cardiologist. If it's a kidney problem, you go to a nephrologist. Okay. If it's a liver problem, then you go to a gastrologist. So law firms are like these specialized places. Like in the field of medicine, you have nephrologists and gastrologists. In the field of law, you have law firms who do specialized corporate work. So as a legal advisor, a company will have legal advisors for small issues. The legal advisors are going to do the job, like for example, drafting contracts. So for example, if you're working for McDonald's, okay, don't you think, guys, that McDonald's is going to have billions and billions of contract with vendors who have to supply meats, with vendors who have to supply the setup for the restaurant? So that is the kind of work that you will do as a legal advisor. But if it gets a bit serious, okay, like for example, guys, did you realize that in between so many of these McDonald's restaurants were shut down, especially in the northern part of the country? Do you remember that period, guys, when a lot of these McDonald's restaurants were shut down? Okay. So there was a big dispute between the parent company McDonald's and Vikram Bakshi, who owned the franchisee of McDonald's in the northern part of the country. Okay, so now that the issue has skyrocketed, now that the issue has become so big, of course, it's out of the hands of legal advisors who work in the company. Now, McDonald's will in all probability go to a law firm to help them out. Okay, so again, law firms are the biggest recruiters for these law schools. And these law firms, I don't know if you've heard their names, but biggies like Amarchand Mangaldas and Luthra and AZB and Partners, Wadia and Gandhi. Have you heard the names of any of these law firms, guys? Have you heard? Okay, so I can see a lot of people are a lot aware about this field. So this is again places you can work for. Okay, law firms. Amarchand Mangaldas obviously is. Another very good thing about law firms, guys, and corporate law in general is that the career hierarchy or the career growth is very rapid. So for example, if you join a law school when you're 17 and 18, and then you become a graduate once you are 22 or 23, and you start as an associate in a law firm, then if you continue, I'm saying, look, the work is not easy. Okay, you have to slog, you have to work really hard, you have to burn the midnight oil. But if you continue at a law firm for, let us say, the next 10, 15 years, then by the time you're 35 and 36, there is a very high chance that you might also end up becoming a salaried partner at one of these firms, guys. Okay. And if you end up becoming a salaried partner at one of the tier 1 law firms in the country, then you can expect anywhere between 70 to 80 lakh rupees to even 1 crore rupees per annum at an age of 35, 36. So like I said, guys, the career progression is quite rapid. It's quite fast. So this is the field of corporate law that you can go for once you're done with your 5 years of integrated law. What are the other career options? Now, a lot of people that I come across, guys, are not so much interested in making, loads of money. They're interested in power. They're interested in perhaps government services, okay, in cracking the civil services and perhaps becoming a judge. So how many of you here would want to become a judge in life, guys? How many of you have ever thought about it? And especially all those who've already decided that they will be pursuing law. How many of you want to become judges? Okay, that's a lot of hands that you are raising. Almost 25 people have raised their hands. Okay, now in order to become a judge from a law school, guys, listen to me very carefully. You take the PCSJ exam. Okay, if you want to become a judge at the age of 22, 23, okay, there are other ways of becoming judges as well, but that can only happen when you are perhaps 35, 40. Okay, if you want to become a judge at the age of 23, 24, then your way is to take the PCSJ exam. Have you heard about this exam, guys? The PCSJ exam? Have you heard about it? Okay, so I can see a lot of you have heard about it. So this exam, guys, all you need is a law degree. Okay, and once you have a law degree, you write the PCSJ exam, which is a state-wise examination, and it is conducted by the UPSC, the Union Public Service Commission, the same people who conduct the civil services exam. And once you crack this exam, then you become a district judge, guys. Okay, you become a district judge. You either become a civil judge or a criminal judge. And once you continue with your judgeship for the next 15, 16, 18, 20 years, then towards the later end of your career, you may also become the judge of the High Court of the particular state. Like, for example, if you are able to crack the UP Judicial Services, then you will start as a district judge in Meerut, Lucknow, Kanpur, Allahabad. And then after spending 15, 20 years here, you might, towards the later end of your career, become the judge of the Allahabad High Court or the Lucknow bench of the Allahabad High Court. Okay. So this is again something that you can do. Now, there is a very interesting question that I get a lot. People often ask me that, sir, tell us one thing. You told us that if you want to become a district judge and crack the PCSJ exam, then all you need is a degree in law to appear. Then how does it matter if I go to a national university or some Tom, Dick and Harry law school on the highway? Well, it matters a lot, guys, and I'll tell you why. You see, if you open the merit list of the civil services every year, guys, okay, the civil services results are released. If you open the merit list and see the people who've gotten the top 100 or top 200 ranks, you will notice that all majority of these people will be from the elitist colleges in the country. They will be from AIMS, they will be from IITs, they will be from, St. Stephen's, they will be from JNU. So the pedigree, guys, or your undergraduate college plays a very imperative and significant role in shaping your career. And the reason is simple, guys. The kind of infrastructure that you will get, the kind of faculties that you will get, the kind of batchmates you will get, the kind of libraries you will get, will play a very important role in deciding whether or not you can crack the civil services. And that definitely holds true for NLUs as well, guys. Once you go to these NLUs, the faculties, they're the best. What does the PCSJ entrance ask? It will ask you questions on law. And this law will be taught to you by the best professors in the country. Professors who give lectures at elite colleges around the world, at Oxford and Yale and Cambridge and whatnot. You will be taught law by them. You will be getting the best of the infrastructure, the best of the libraries. Okay, I come from NLU Lucknow, and my library was a separate 3-story building, which was stocked with every possible book on the planet in law that you can imagine of. And same holds true for all these other national universities like Nalsar and NLUJ and NLU Delhi and NLS Bangalore. Then apart from that, the peers and the batchmates that you will get, there will be a lot of constructive competition that also helps you a lot in cracking these exams. So all these factors come together, and like I said, play a very definitive role in deciding whether or not you have it in you to crack the civil services, guys. Okay, so which is why I say that if becoming a judge is what you aspire, then NLUs are the best place for your preparation, and it will pretty much ensure that you end up cracking these services. And it's a supreme job, guys. It's a very good job. It's a white collar job. You get to do justice. Okay, you get to do something constructive for the society, and I don't think that there can be anything more satisfying than that. So that is also something that you can go for. Apart from that, guys, what are the other options? Gaurish, I will take up the questions at the end of the session. Okay, apart from that, what are the other things that you can go for? Well, I've seen that a lot of class 11th and 12th kids these days come to me and ask me about ways to settle abroad. A lot of people want to migrate. A lot of people want to pursue something outside of India and perhaps settle for at least some time, maybe not the rest of their lives, but maybe 10, 15 years. So is anybody interested in that idea? Then I'll go ahead and discuss this option as well in settling abroad. Okay. Guys, you are raising your hands for everything. You people want to do everything. You people seem to like every option that I'm discussing. You can just do one thing, by the way. All right. All right. Okay. So since so many of you are raising your hands, then I will also tell you about this option of settling abroad. Okay. And for this, let me first tell you something, guys. You see, settling abroad for international students is not so easy these days. I'm sure you keep hearing the news all the time. So, for instance, you must have heard that Mr. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, he cancelled H-1B visas a short while ago. Did you hear about this news article, guys? Donald Trump cancelling all H-1B visas. So for international students to stay back, guys, it's a bit tricky these days. Okay, it's not so easy. And the reason behind that, the job market is performing poorly. Okay, the job market is not faring well. But then comes the important question. What are these jobs? Well, these are the jobs essentially in the field of management and science, guys. Okay. Now, for instance, when you hear about people pursuing some degree from a foreign university, from US or UK, what do you hear mostly? That they're either pursuing MBA or MS in computer science, information technology, and all these things. Aren't these the two most common things that you hear about, guys? Tell me, raise your hands and tell me. MBA and MS and so on and so forth. So there is almost a mass exodus, a massive influx of international students who go to the US and UK and all these popular destinations to pursue either courses in science or management. And since the scarcity, and therefore there is a scarcity of jobs in these particular and specific fields, guys. Okay, the job markets in the field of management and science has almost reached a point of saturation, because there are local takers for these jobs, and then there are like millions of international students who pursue courses in management and sciences. But when it comes to law, guys, the situation is still way better, because like I said, you wouldn't hear a lot of people going abroad and pursuing law. I mean, there are, but the ratio is vast. Okay, the difference in the ratio is mammoth, and which is why with law, there are still jobs available. The job market still has a lot to offer, and therefore your chances of getting to stay back, finding a job becomes relatively easier as compared to, like I said, if you pursue courses in management or engineering. Okay, so for instance, I mean, I have personal examples to quote here as well. For instance, a very good friend of mine from my school, who did his BTech from one of the top colleges in the country, went on to the University of Oxford and pursued his MBA. And then another friend of mine from my law school, she went on to pursue her master's in law from the University of Oxford. Now, the guy who did his MBA couldn't find a job in the UK, and he had to come back. He's looking for a job in Bombay right now, while the girl who did her law is right now settled in London. She's working with Linklaters, one of the biggest law firms in the world. So like I said, guys, again, not the easiest thing to sell abroad these days, but with law, it definitely becomes easier. Okay, so that is again something that you can go for. Then what are the other options, guys? Litigation or practicing in a court of law, the most traditional, orthodox, conventional thing that lawyers since time immemorial have been doing. Okay, do you know about litigation, practicing in a court of law? The whole Tariq pe Tariq depiction in the movies that you see, it's not so shady, guys. Let me tell you that. I mean, in the district court, maybe it is a bit, but that is not what happens in the court. Okay, where somebody is shouting Tariq pe Tariq and judge is like order, 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 and the audience is laughing. It's a very hyped depiction of what actually happens inside the courts, but that is practicing in a court of law. Okay, now I'll tell you something, guys. Practicing or litigating is an option that not a lot of, especially national university students, wish to foray into. And the reason behind that is that the gestation period is really long. What do I mean by the gestation period? It takes a lot of time for you to establish your practice. So in Hindi, there is a very famous saying in the legal diaspora कि जब तक आपके बाल सफेद नहीं हो जाते, मेरे तो है नहीं, so I can't say, but in Hindi there is a saying, जब तक आपके बाल सफेद नहीं हो जाते, तब तक आपके पास पैसा आना शुरू नहीं होता है. Okay, so it takes a lot of time for you to establish your practice. Okay, you start working as a junior with a senior, you get paid peanuts, 20-25,000 rupees, then you start your independent practice, then you start to get clients, and by the time you get established, of course, the ceiling is infinite, but by the time you get established, it takes a lot of time, and which is why a lot of people do not wish to foray into litigation or practicing. But even that trend is changing, guys. And I'll tell you how it is changing. So all these top-notch senior advocates at the Supreme Court and Delhi High Court and Bombay High Court, I'm sure you must have heard about names like Harish Salve, Mukul Rohtagi, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Kapil Sibal. Have you heard about these names, guys? Yes or no? Have you heard about these names? So yes, almost everybody. So these people are stinking rich, guys. Okay, first of all, these people are stinking rich. Like they can charge anywhere up to 15, 10 to 15 lakh rupees for a single session. And one session in the court wouldn't last for more than half an hour. And they have multiple such sessions lined up in the day. So per session, 15 lakh rupees, multiple sessions, you can imagine how much they make in a day. Okay, so they make a lot of money. And a lot of these senior advocates also realize that we are losing the best of the talent from national law universities to corporate law firms. Why? Because these corporate law firms offer easy money and instant money. So in order to retain some of this talent, even these senior advocates now, guys, have started paying their juniors as much as top law firms. So there are so many lawyers, not everybody, of course, but there are so many senior lawyers in the Supreme Court right now, or in the Delhi High Court or the Mumbai High Court, who, like I said, have started paying their juniors, like the tier 1 law firms. And which is why, if it is litigation and practicing in the court, which is a great option. I mean, if you've pursued law, then the best way you can exhibit the law that you have studied, guys, is definitely by practicing it in a court of law. That's the real place. Okay, that's the real testing ground. And money was the only issue, which also, like I said, has been resolved by a lot of these senior advocates that have now started paying their juniors so well. But for that too, guys, again, you have to be from good law schools. Okay, these senior advocates are picky. These senior advocates are choosy. They're not gonna just they're not gonna have anybody from a Tom, Dick, and Harry law school come join them. Okay, so this is again something that you can go for. So anyway, guys, in brief, there are a plethora of options. There's a world of options. Okay, you are seriously spoiled for choices. And now, as I can already see in the session, you people showed your interest in multiple options. So once I discuss these options in my career counseling workshops, a lot of them also come to me and tell me that, sir, we are confused. Okay, I mean, what exactly is the best option? Well, you don't have to be confused. And most importantly, you don't have to decide anything right now. Okay, you don't have to decide anything right now. Law school will show you your path. So there are very active training and placement committees at these law schools, guys. And you will intern twice in 1 year. You get the winter break and the summer break. And now you test and try. You work with a lawyer, you work with a judge, you work with a college professor, you work in a corporate law firm, you work, in an NGO, you work in the social sector. And once you have worked in all these places for the first 3-4 years, then you take a call. Okay, then you take a call that what is the kind of work that I feel most passionate towards? What is the kind of work that I like the most? And then accordingly, you can take a career decision in your 5th year of law school. Okay, so you don't have to take a decision right now. You will get a lot of opportunities inside the law school to decide what is it that you want to later pick up in life. Okay, so this was about career options from law schools, guys. Okay, and then we will move on to the next part, which is life at law schools. Now that is again something that you definitely want to hear. So all the participants, please be online, and we will discuss about extracurricular activities, mooting, opportunities to travel abroad, academics, and everything that goes on in a law school. Okay, so I'm gonna hand over the stage. I'm sorry for calling it a stage. It's just a habit because I've been conducting so many of these sessions physically. So Akash Joshi is my colleague, and he's a graduate from Nalsa. He worked with the law firm Jyoti Sagar Associates, guys, which is again one of the top, tier 1 law firms in the country in Mumbai. And he will now take up life at law schools. Over to you, Akash.
Thank you, Abhishek, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. As you've already been told, I'm Akash. Right now, I'm a legal faculty at CLAT Possible. 10 years ago, I also wrote the CLAT examination in 2010. I was myself a student at CLAT Possible. So big kudos to Clat Possible for helping me realize my dream law school, which was Nalsar. I joined Nalsar in 2010, and graduating in 2015, I joined a law firm, which Abhishek told all of you was J. Sagar Associates in Bombay. I primarily dealt in corporate law. So whatever Abhishek told you about what happens in corporate law and how much you get paid in corporate law are things that I have seen and things that I have experienced in. So if you have any doubts about what a law firm life is like and what a corporate law job looks like, you can please post your queries and we'll take them up. But right now, what we are going to be talking about is life at a law school. So far, Surbhi ma'am and Abhishek have told you about what you need to do to get into a law school and what usually happens once you are out of a law school. But what about those 5 crucial years that you spend in a law school? What do they entail and what do you have to do? And what happens in those 5 years is something that I will be talking to you about, having spent those 5 years in a law school like that. Can I just share my screen? Could this screen be disabled for some time? Just give me a minute, everyone. Is my audio clear to everyone? Is my video clear to everyone? I would just appreciate a yes or a no. All right. Thank you, everyone. Just give me a minute, just figuring out some logistics. Just waiting for the screen to clear so that I can share my part. All right, so what we will be talking about is, yeah, perfect. Thank you. So I'm going to be dealing with this very briefly. Let's look at what happens in these 5 years. So this is just to lighten the mood. All of you have been on this. Thank you for being on the session for so long. And let's see what the life of a law student looks like. Of course, this is a meme, this is a joke just to lighten the mood. So technically, yes, but the last photograph is what you actually spend doing. All of the others are expectations and stereotypes, but often you do deal with them. But still, this gives you an idea of what life after law school looks like and what you are to expect out of your law school education. All right, so what's in store for you once you are entering the law school? A rigorous but manageable academic schedule. Now, all of you over here, as I saw in the beginning of the session, some people are in 9th right now, some people are in the 11th standard, some people are the 12th standard. So, right, all of you are at this stage, you're trying to figure out what career you want to choose, right? So you're trying to give as many entrance examinations as possible. You're also managing your board examinations on the other hand. So you're already, under that, in that phase of life, you're managing some academic stress. So that academic stress is very effectively transferred into your law school life also. So you have a lot of things to do. You have your academics, you have your extracurriculars, you have your moot court competitions, but all of that is manageable because you have a very healthy system of help available, which is in the form of your teachers, in the form of your seniors, in the form of your batchmates, in the form of your staff. So there's a lot of, we will be dealing with each aspect in a bit more detail, just in one of the further slides down the order. So you have a lot of activities to choose from once you are in law school. So you can have mooting, you can have quizzing, you can have debating. There's also theater, there is also sports. So you have a lot of things to do inside the law school. So if you're a nerd enough, there are several opportunities that you can explore. Even if you're not, you can basically turn into one, and it will turn you into one. All right, so what we are trying to say that there is something for everyone. However, just to go about it in a bit more detail, is that what exactly falls within it? Academics. Now, when I say academics, of course, I mean classroom study. Of course, I mean all your teachings that happen inside a classroom, all your law provisions that you will be reading. However, academics in a law school also comprise of field work, also comprises of research projects, also comprises of discussions which happen outside the classroom. So of course, academics is the major part of a law school life because it's law, right? So you have to study law and several kinds of law in the 5 years of your life. And sometimes people have this misunderstanding that when you're in law school, you specialize in one kind of law. That is not true. At least in your undergraduate degree, what you do for 5 years, the BA LLB degree or BBA LLB, BSc LLB, whatever stream that you choose, you do not specialize in a law. You do not specialize in a particular field. You study various kinds of law. If you choose to do an LLM in the future, is when you try to choose a specific area of law that you want to develop your expertise in. So that is academics for you in very brief. You have mooting. Now, how many over here have heard about this term mooting? Can I hear a yes or a no or don't know? Has anyone heard about the term mooting? Right. So what happens in mooting? Okay. Mooting is like a mock court proceeding. So you have an entire setup where you will basically be a lawyer who is arguing on behalf of a client. You have a problem in front of you. You are given a problem. You are told that these are the legal provisions that you need to apply. So you're required to develop arguments and you're required to argue it in a court of law as usually it happens in a court of law. So you're required to adopt all the kinds of decorum. You're supposed to speak in a language that is spoken of in the courtroom, not the ones that you see in your TV or in your Netflix shows, but something that is more procedural and more formal. Now, this is a very brilliant idea or a very brilliant activity to take part in if you are kind of exploring litigation opportunities. Even if you're not interested in litigation after law school life, this is a great exercise to hone your legal skills, because apart from the act of speaking, you are also engaged in the act of researching, because before uttering any single legal argument, you need to have a very thorough backup of what that law is, what are the multiple judgments of the different kinds of courts in the country, what have they ruled about on that issue. So mooting is a great exercise, of course, for people who want to enter into litigation after they've done the law school, but also as a skill or as a practice to hone your legal skills. So mooting, in short, is a mock court exercise where you go in front of a judge who is not an actual judge, but someone who is a judge for that duration of time, and you put your arguments, and then you win or you lose. Now, mooting also gives you opportunities to travel within the country and also outside the country, because there are national moot court competitions. Some colleges or some national universities have their mooting pool from which they send people to different national moot court competitions. However, there are also international moot court competitions. So there are arbitration moots, there are criminal law moots, there are international law moots, which happen in Hong Kong, which happen in Europe, which happen in the United States. So even an exercise such as mooting can take you places. All right. The other thing is internships. Now, internships are again a brilliant way of building your curriculum vitae, of course, building your resume, building your skill set in the kind of professional opportunity that you're interested in. So, for example, if you are from the very get-go, you know that you want to litigate. So from the beginning years of your law school life itself, during the vacation period that you get during the winter and during the summer, what you do is you apply for an internship under a senior advocate or an advocate on record or any advocate who is practicing at any court. So you basically are like a trainee under that. Just give me a minute, everyone. So internships happen where you basically take training under either a senior advocate. You can basically help that senior advocate or an advocate in building a case brief. You can go and visit the courtrooms and see how the court proceedings are carried out. So all of these things happen in internships. If not litigation, and if you're unsure about what you want to do, then that's again a brilliant exercise, because you get several opportunities to intern. So you intern You can intern either at an NGO if you're interested in social causes. You can either intern at with a lawyer. You can intern with a law firm, depending on your interest area. If you want to develop, if you do not know what your interest area is, then try interning at several places and you will get to know what your interest area is. All right. Then you have your debating. Now, debating in law school is quite different from the debating you might have done in your school. So in your schools, you have the debating of the sort where you argue either against the motion or for the motion, right? However, in the law school debating, which is the parliamentary style, you're actually required to debate as the way what happens in parliaments. Now, not the Indian parliament uh, not the Indian parliament where we are throwing things at each other, but in a more civil manner where you are required to defend a motion and you have a team with you, which basically gives you time to rebut the other person's argument. So it's an entire procedure that you're required to follow. Of course, then there's quizzing. Now, quizzing is a very, very fun activity. Now, not to tell you that everything in law school happens in a very legal manner. Quizzing happens on various sorts of fields. So you can have a film quiz, you can have a Harry Potter quiz. We used to have Harry Potter quizzes in our law school. Or you can even have a general quiz, which can be about India, which can be about history, which can be about GK. So people who are interested in the quizzing side of things, of course, can also go about that. Fests and events. At the end of the day, the law school is a college, right? So any activity which happens in a regular college also happen in law school. So you have fests that happen within the college. You have fests that call colleges from outside, and you have a great time. So it is to, just release your stress, because I'm not going to lie, law school is a stressful period of time because you have a lot to read, you have a lot to think about your future. So these opportunities give you enough time to vent out that stress and just make your journey in law school a bit easier. However, what you need to remember is that law school life is what you make of it. I have tried to tell you these different pockets of what a law school looks like. But if you are interested in a field that maybe I have not addressed, you can definitely make out a case for that. You can definitely meet people. You can definitely, get in touch with people who have graduated from your law school and see what they are doing, see what field they are interested in, and then try and build a repertoire with them and, make a mark for yourself. So although there are certain predefined areas or predefined things that you do in a law school, but it is what you make out of it. What is also very important is to remember that when you are entering law school, and especially if I'm talking about law schools, I'm also trying to address the top 4 to 5 law schools where, because they are such premier institutes of knowledge, everyone is vying for a spot in those law schools, right? So at the time when I went to NALSA, there were 80 people who would be admitted in one batch. So 80 people from the entire country is quite a small number, right? So you have people from various backgrounds who are coming in, and when people from various backgrounds are coming in, they're coming in from their own context. So it exposes you to things that you possibly would not have been exposed to before you entered law school or in your school life. So when you're entering law school, you have to enter it with a very open mind, because your thinking, your understanding will be influenced. And I'm not even talking about thinking in terms of how you look at life, even in terms of your studies, because the field of law itself is a very interdisciplinary field of study, which means that, to give you an example, when we read law in college, it is not that in the first year itself we are taught legal provisions, or we're taught contract law, or we're taught about the constitution. We begin with being taught about history, sociology, political science. So all of these are taught to us because all of these fields have a bearing on what the understanding of law is. Because in order to understand law, in order to understand what the constitution states, you also need to have an idea about what politics is. You also need to have an idea about what governance is, about what the history of what the history of the country has been, which led it to arrive at such a moment when the constitution was framed. So you have a lot to learn, and you have a lot of influences, and you should take in all those influences in going through your journey at law school. So influences are from various kinds: region, religion, language, cultures. You have exposure to different kind of ideas and mindsets. So what I'm trying to tell you is keep an open mind when you're entering your law school, because when you come out of it, you will be a changed person. Who are your friends in this journey? Of course, your faculty is the primary person who you go to for any doubts, for any problems. You make friends with your faculty, you consult them on various counts. So faculty and a good faculty matters in shaping your understanding, in shaping your path in the law school. All right. Then, of course, you have guest lectures. Now, guest lectures, I mean people of people of legal eminence, like, you know, senior advocates. Like, I remember when I was in law school, we had Justice S. Muralidhar. Have people heard about this name, Justice S. Muralidhar? He was recently in the Delhi High Court and got transferred to the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Uh, have people? Okay, all right. So Justice S. Muralidhar is a very prominent judge, used to be a very prominent judge at the Delhi High Court, known for his various judgments. And he was in the Nas Foundation case way back in 2009 in the Delhi High Court when they decriminalized homosexuality. So we had such eminent judges coming onto our campus to actually take classes, and they took some guest lectures, they took some short duration courses. So you have the opportunity to learn from the best legal minds in the country. And even though they might not take a regular course, but because they come for such guest lectures, because they otherwise have a very busy schedule in life, you have the opportunity to interact with the best minds in the country, right? Alumni meets, again, as I've told you, what a law school alumni is very, very reflective of what the law school has in store for you. So what the alumni are doing after they are done with the law school education gives you a very good idea of what kind of opportunities are available to you once you are done with law school. And then, of course, there's staff. So the mess staff, the library staff, the admin staff, is all of them are there to help you. And then at the end of the day, your batchmates. The friends you make in law school become your friends for life, because you're going to be spending 5 years over there. So you develop deep bonds and deep friendships. All right. So, but what happens once you're done with all of this? Abhishek has already addressed it in quite a lot of detail, and I appreciate that. But in short, placements. Now, placements typically start happening at the end of the 4th year, beginning of the 5th year. You have law firms like Abhishek mentioned, Amarchand Mangaldas, J. Sagar Associates, Vadia Gandhi, AZB, all coming down and offering you lucrative packages if you decide to sit for those interviews. You also have higher studies. So once you're done with your LLB, BA LLB from a law school, you also have the option for applying for LLM. Now, your LLM application is very, very dependent on what your interest area is and how strong your statement of purpose is while you're applying for that LLM. So you might not have the most stellar grades in your law school life. However, if you can establish that you're interested in a particular area of law in which you want to pursue your LLM in, and how do you establish that? You establish that by saying that you have done enough work in that area. You probably have attended conferences when you were in law school. You probably have written articles on it when you were in law school. So you develop your interest area not just by studying, but also by exploring these opportunities where you write articles, where you participate in conferences, where you participate in moot court conferences, where you participate in debates. So all of that also happens. All right. Going in independent. A lot of people, of course, want to pursue litigation once they're done with law school, right? So some people, after having been a junior to a senior advocate or being a junior to any advocate for a certain number of years, have the option of starting their own litigation practice. Now, of course, it takes some time to establish yourself as an independent legal practitioner. However, and I can assure this to you that after 6 to 7 years of practice as a litigator also, you can manage a salary or a figure which is comparable to those of your friends who would probably be at a law firm, right? So it takes time, but after that investment has gone in, you are completely independent in deciding what you are going to quote as your salaries, all right? Want to switch? Of course, that is available to you. Now, if I were to just wrap this up quickly in a minute, I graduated from NALSA in 2015. I worked for 3 years as a corporate lawyer in J. Sagar Associates, and I dealt with various kinds of banking and finance and capital markets, even litigation. I did arbitration. So I did a lot of things when I was in this thing. However, after I was done with those 3 years, I decided to do photography. So for a year, I was doing photography, but at the back of my mind, I knew that I have a law school degree and I have had this much of experience, so I can always go back to it. So it gives you a nice cushion, it gives you a nice buffer to go back to it if you want to, and also make a switch. So with that, I'm done with my part. This is just to end today's session. It's a joke. Please don't take this seriously. Don't look at the length of the book, and especially not in law school, because all books are very, very fat. So with that, any queries that you have, we can address them. But thank you for taking out some time and patience and listening out to me. And I hope I've been able to inspire you enough to further your dream of entering into a law school. Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys. So I'm quickly going to hand it over to Preeti Sinha. And any queries that you have regarding your courses and the fee details, when exactly will the batches start, what is the mode of teaching, whether online classes, online students can be shifted to the offline batches once the schools and colleges open. So Preeti, can you please take it up?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so whatever queries you have, you can just write it down in the chat box, or I'll just share a PPT and with Survi ma'am already shared. So just give me a second. Can Akash stop the PPT you were sharing? सुनो सुन रहे हो इसको छोटा करना है.
Preeti, can you please mute your audio?
Yeah, just a minute.
Right, guys. So you can please keep typing your queries.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, I'll just brief you about the batches and all. We're starting with this. Okay, so we have this Breeze online program. This is for class 12 students, and this is for CLAT 2021. We're starting with the batch from 2nd of August. I'll just come to the slide which has the batch details and all. We're starting from 2nd of August. It is Saturday and Sunday. Saturday timings are 4 to 6 in the evening, and Sunday it is 2 to 6 in the afternoon. And then we have another program which is again for CLAT 2021. That's a regular batch, a regular program that is basically for students who are 12th pass outs. So that is, the classes are Monday to Friday, and the timings for the classes, it is 3 to 5 in the afternoon. And then we have this 2-year-long program which is for class 11 students. The classes are again starting from 2nd of August. It is Saturday and Sunday. So you can choose between any of these programs depending on the class that you are in. And we are also doing some demo classes, diagnostic classes. So tomorrow there is a diagnostic class from 3 to 5. It is an English session. And then Tuesday you have a diagnostic class on legal. And then Wednesday you have a diagnostic class on current affairs. So which will be taken by your teachers who will be teaching you in the classes. As I told you, the batch for CLAT 2021, and CLAT 2022, it's starting from 2nd of August, that is Saturday and Sunday. And then the regular batch, it is starting from, starting from 27th of this month, that is Monday. So you can join any of them, right? Okay, so whatever queries you have, you can just share with me. I'll just take the chat. Okay, so you can just type in your queries in the chat box. So Akshula is saying class 11 new batch on weekdays. No, we're not starting with weekdays batch. We're starting with weekend batch for class 11th and 12th, right? Weekday batch is starting as a regular batch, and it is basically starting for students who are 12th pass outs. Okay, Aryan, when the batch for class CLAT 2021 is starting, CLAT 2021 batch is starting from 2nd of August. As I told you, it will be a Saturday Sunday batch. Admission procedure for Zephyr, Ayushi, you can either go to the website, or we can share with you the details of the bank details and other details, so that you can make the you can complete the admission process from there. Otherwise, you can go to the website and you can enroll from there also. Okay, Sanjay, should I start my preparation from class 12? Or Sanjay, as Survi ma'am already told you that whenever you decide, the day you decide that you need to start your, you want to go for CLAT, so you should start your preparation then itself. And moreover, this exam is an exam which requires a lot of practice and all. So the, more time you invest in practicing, that is definitely better for you. Okay, Aryan, I am currently in Breeze 21. Aryan, as I told you, you can contact your center, which, you might be in touch with some of the people at CLAT Possible. So just contact over there, or you write your query on help@clatpossible.com, right? So they'll help you out. Okay, weekdays, new batch for 11th. There's no new batch for class 11th, which is weekdays, but yes, we are running a batch, which is for class 11, that is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The timings for the same, it is 4 to 6 in the evening. So, AK Shukla, okay. So you can join that batch. You can give us a call. I'll share the number also. It is 7851 87752. You can give us a call, 51, and in fact 7851 87752. So you can give us a call on these two numbers, so we can let you know about the batches and all. Okay, Varnika, do you have? No, Varnika, sorry, we do not have a center in Kolkata. Gargi, ma'am, if we do not want to switch to brick and mortar, yes. See, basically what we are doing right now, we are conducting the online classes, but we'll keep on continuing the online classes in future also, as in for CLAT 2021 as well as for CLAT 2022, because centers we are physically present, so you can upgrade yourself to the classroom session, but centers cities where we are not present, so we'll be continuing the classes for them in the online mode itself. Okay, Gauri, do you have a center near Model Town? I suppose, Gauri, you're talking about Delhi. In Delhi, we have centers in Connaught Place and Pitampura. Model Town is, I think, North Campus. I'm not sure, but I think so. It's not there. We are not in North Campus. Okay, is faculty different for different cities? No, the faculties are same, because our faculties travel at all our centers, and moreover in the online mode, it hardly makes a difference because all the teachers are taking batches which has students from across the country. So there's no difference as such. Okay, Palak, don't you have scholarship? Sorry, Palak, we do not have any scholarship. Okay, Aditya, hi and bye. So that's fine. Any more queries that you have regarding the batches and all? Okay, so I'll just tell you once again, like the batches that we are starting for class 12th pass out students, the batch is starting from this 27th, which is Monday, and for class 11th and 12th, we are starting the batch from 2nd of August. The fees and all, as ma'am has already told you in her slide, she showed you the fees. I'm just repeating the fees for all the programs. The fees for the 1 year long program for class 12 students, this is 65,000. For students who are 12th pass outs, for them it is 95,000, which is payable in installments. If you pay it in one go, it is 85,000. And for students who are in class 11th and want to join the 2 year program, for them the fees is 1,20,000 for the online classes. All the payments can be paid in installments. You can call us, we'll give you the installment plans and everything. So you can all pay in installment, that is no issues. Okay, Khushi, not sure about it, so I am confused that I should enroll or not. Khushi, you tell me what is your query like, so let me just try to take your queries. Why you are confused and what are you thinking? Why you want to join? You're confused between joining right now or later on. So just or maybe we can talk. You can give me a call. I shared the number. This is 7851877752. You just give me a call on this number. We can talk about it. Okay, Shivam, installments. See, basically there are 3 to 4 installment plans, installments in which you can pay. For example, you join the 2-year-long program, so we have a little longer installment plan. But yes, these are all monthly installment plans that we offer. And if you talk about the 1-year program, so it is basically 3 installments, 3 months installment that we offer, right? Sanjay, as of now, there are no classroom sessions available. Only when things become better, then only we'll be conducting the classes at our centers physically. Right now, there are no classes. Okay, Khushi, I'm confused between journalism and law, and I can't make sure at this moment that I should go for law. Okay, Khushi, I think we'll talk on phone separately because you need a different, that's a very, I think, a personal query that you have for yourself. So we can talk on phone. So just give us a call and we'll talk about it. Okay. Any more queries? Okay, now tomorrow, since there is a demo session, diagnostic session from 3 to 5, so we'll be messaging you the link from where you can join the session, right? So just keep checking your messages. We'll send you the messages in the morning tomorrow, and also you'll get a call from the centers so that you know about the session details and all. Okay. Okay, Ayushi ma'am is the study. Yes, Ayushi, the study material is included in the program. All our classes, all our programs that we offer, it includes the study material, it includes the online support system, which has all the GK current affairs material, and all the classes are there. Now, these all classes that we are conducting, these are all live online classes that we conduct, and you also get the recorded sessions of all the classes also. So it is not only that you are attending only the live classes, you also get the recorded classes, so that whenever you wish to go back and go through the session, you can again view the session. Okay, AK Shukla says, can we get names of faculty of different topics? Okay, sir, our faculty names are already available on our website. Moreover, the teachers who are taking the session today, so they also would be taking the classes also. So moreover, you'll meet more faculties, like Sanjay sir will be taking a GK session, and you'll be meeting all the teachers, and also you can go to our website. Name of all the teachers are available over there. Sanjay, will the students of online classes be able to shift to classroom? Yes, Sanjay, you can shift to the classroom sessions. Yes, there's a separate fees of the classroom session, so you'll have to pay the difference in amount, because this online class fees will be adjusted in your classroom session amount. So that will be adjusted, and you can upgrade yourself to the classroom once the classroom sessions start. Okay, Kunal says, best college for law. See, basically we spoke about it. I think teachers have already spoken about the CLAT colleges, which is the National Law Universities, right? So the top colleges are NLU Bangalore, NLSIU, Nalsar, Hyderabad. Then we have a college in Kolkata, WJOS. Then we have NLU Delhi. So there are different. These are the top colleges, but so obviously these are the best colleges. Palak, no, you need not. You will have. No, you don't need to pay anything extra for the study material, because that is a part of the curriculum. That's a part of the course. Okay, Ayushi, last day for enrolling is affair. Ayushi, since the batch is starting from 2nd of August, so please enroll before 31st of July, in fact, because we need to process the entire thing. So it takes little time. So just enroll before 31st of July. Vanika says, can we do CS after BLLV? It's entirely your wish, Vanika, whatever you can, because you have a graduation degree, so you can do anything which you want to do. Okay. AK Shukla, if we join now in weekday class 11, what about classes already done? Sir, we will be providing you the recorded sessions of all the classes. We are providing recorded sessions of all the classes. So whatever classes have already happened, you'll be getting the recording of all these classes, so you can go through that. Moreover, if you have any doubts or any queries from that, you can connect with the teacher separately and you can get your doubts cleared. Okay, Palak, I already answered you. Ayushi gets study material after admission. Ayushi, if you are somewhere near our centers, wherever in whichever city we have our centers, so you can collect it from the center itself. Otherwise, we courier the study material, so it will take another week's time to reach you after the admission process is completed. Rishiraj, ma'am, I am appearing for CLAT 20. Suggestions or tips? I think you should have asked the teachers regarding the same, Rishiraj, so they would have given you better tips for this. Apurva, do we have weekday classes for 12th grade students? Apurva, as I told you that, like, it's the same Monday, Wednesday, Friday batch which is going on right now. We don't have any new batch starting up right now. So the class which is already going on, you can join that batch for weekdays, but otherwise you can join the weekend batch. Okay, Iqbal, Iqbal, we are starting the batch, the new batch for class 11th from 2nd of August. So you need to enroll before 31st of July so that you can get access of the classes. Sanjay, I already told you can do, you can do CS, you can go for UPSC, whatever you want to do, you can definitely do after doing your law from NLU. Okay, Rishiraj, again, I'm saying you need to talk to our teachers, so they'll be able to guide you better. Okay, any more queries regarding the batches and about the fee structure and all, so you can just ask me in the chat box, or else we'll meet again tomorrow from 3 to 5. There's a session and I'll again come and I'll meet you all, so that whatever queries you have, you can just ask me and we'll address to that, right? Okay, I think Akash is already answering the queries. Okay, Sanjay is asking how many students will be there in one batch. Sanjay, since it's an online batch, so there would be around 50 to 60 students will be there in a batch. Okay, fee structure for Rishiraj, you'll have to go to the website. The fee structure of all these colleges, everything is mentioned over there, right? Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow. So tomorrow, 3 to 5, we'll send you the link for the demo session and you can attend demo session tomorrow, and we'll meet again. If you have any queries related to admission at CLAT Possible or anything you want to know about the courses and all, so I'll address that. Otherwise, in the meantime, you can give us a call on the number which I mentioned, which is 7851877752 and 51. You can give us a call on this number and we'll try to address all your queries, or you can even mail us at help@clatpossible.com. Right. Okay, thank you for coming and attending, being such wonderful audiences. Okay, thank you.